All righty then. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Rant. I'm Pugs Moran, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery in Dallas's fantastic design district. This is talk radio for normal people. We got a chat room. Come one, come all. Get in the chat room. Where are my nizzles? Hello? Where are my chat room nizzles? What's that, Jamie? We don't have nizzles. Are you faux shizzle? We have no nizzles. Watching the news. I'm a little distracted by the news. We got a lot of stuff that I want to talk about here. Again, this is the new streamlined version of the Daily Rant where I don't mess around with too much small talk at the beginning. We jump right into what everybody's talking about. So without further ado, hi, Sports Bros. This is appropriate. We got Cece in the chat room hanging out. He's in the chat. I was just going to mention him. Hi, Taronda. Just going to mention. I wasn't just going to mention Taronda. I'm just saying hi, Taronda. But I was going to mention Cece of the Sports Bros because last night we hung out a little and just chopped it up like a bunch of dudes just talking about stupid shit. And one of the things that we talked about was the passing of Ozzy Osbourne. And that sort of led to a conversation of, wow, Ozzy Osbourne, Malcolm Jamal Warner. That's a pretty good makings of a death trilogy, isn't it? It sounds like that could be. So we were talking about who's next. Well, who could possibly, this is last night, remember. Who's next? Who could possibly be next? And then Cece just goes, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's going to be next. And we're all like, what? Because Hulk Hogan didn't have any, I'll give you an example. Well, actually, let me give you how it started. Keith goes, for some reason, I don't know, he's just got some weird hatred for William Shatner. He goes, William Shatner's going to die. And I'm like, he's not even sick. He's not even, you're just throwing death shade at some dude randomly. I mean, I'm going to say Bruce Willis because there was a news story yesterday about how Bruce Willis is in decline. And I'm like, well, maybe he's the next big one to go. So you see, at least mine had some. Keith just out there hating on William Shatner for no reason. And then Cece goes, nah, it's gonna be Hulk Hogan. It's gonna be Hulk Hogan's gonna die. I'm like, what? What do you mean Hulk Hogan's gonna die? Wait, is he sick? Because I had to think, I'm not big on following Hulk Hogan. I mean, when it's not related to, him cucking out some Florida shock jock by banging out his wife, I'm not really interested in the day ins and days outs of Hulk Hogan's life these past, well, let's be honest, 50 years. But anyway, yeah, so I didn't know if he was sick or not, and he wasn't. But CC just randomly went, Hulk Hogan's gonna die. And guess what? It's like an apex level angel of death move where he just names Hulk Hogan, and then within 12 hours, Hulk Hogan's die. Hulk Hogan's die. I just said that. That's what I just said. Professional broadcaster, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Hulk Hogan's die is a sentence I just said. All right, so we'll get into that. And here's another thing that I want to do because we're going to spin off the Hulk Hogan life. A celebration. Nah, not the way I'm going to do it. Hulk Hogan, a life. We'll do all that. But we're also, after that, we're going to get into the Death Trilogy game. Those of you who listen to this show every day, you know that I'm obsessed with my own mortality. I ain't afraid to die. Bring it on. I am waiting for an opportunity to tackle some kind of suicide bomber, saving the lives of nuns and school children at a mall. That's my dream. I'd go out that way. I have no fear of death. Mortality is nothing to me. Life is good. Love your people. Have a good time. Whatever. Anyway, point is this. I'm obsessed with it. I do. I love death. I love the whole, let's talk about them now that they're gone, right? That's kind of a shitty thing, but somehow I'm wired that way. Oh, they're dead. Let's talk about what assholes they were. But along the years doing radio, we've always done two things. We've created yearly celebrity death lists where at the beginning of a year, you come up with a list of 10 people that you believe will die. And then you go over it at the end of the year. Isn't that fun? Wasn't shock radio fun? But then there's another aspect of it. There is the Death Trilogy, which is an age-old radio bit. I've been hearing it in Chicago radio since the 1980s. made popular at the Loop by the likes of Steve Dahl and all of them. Then I moved to Dallas, and the ticket does it. The ticket does it too. The ticket does a whole, I think the tickets spin. All right, so here's different people do these Death Trilogy games differently. Like, I've been on 2 shows where one of the shows, the premise was, okay, these 3 people died all within the same period of time. And by the way, we're going to define what that period of time is. We're going to establish the rules for the Death Trilogy and figure out where we are. Anyway, one of the shows I was on, their thing was, okay, these 3 people are standing in line to get into the pearly gates. Who gets in and who doesn't? It's kind of the origin of my heaven or hell kind of argument. Then the tickets got their thing. Isn't the tickets, it's an apartment? Or was that Kevin Matthews in Chicago? No. Is the tickets thing, these guys are all living in an apartment together in heaven? Well, they all get into heaven, but anyway, whatever it is, the Death Trilogy, people die in threes. We've been hearing it forever, but where exactly are we? And what are the rules? For instance, I'll give you an example. Does Hulk Hogan end a Death Trilogy of Malcolm Jamal Warner and Ozzy Osbourne? Or does Hulk Hogan begin a new Death Trilogy? Or is Hulk Hogan the second of a new Death Trilogy that excludes Malcolm Jamal Warner and begins with Ozzy? We will get to the bottom of that. I have spent all morning tracking all the celebrity deaths of 2025, and I have the official trilogy groupings. So we'll go through that. And by the way, just for our own personal edification, we came out of the box this year in January or early February. We had a natural Death Trilogy. And I would call this one a mega natural. And okay, so here's what a natural Death Trilogy is. 3 famous people die on the same day. Same day, 3 of them. Now, a mega Death Trilogy, or a mega natural, if you will, is when the 3 stars who die are all big names. Big, famous. We had one of those this year. We had a natural, we had a supernatural, we had a mega natural. So we'll do that as well. Hulk Hogan, Death Trilogy. I'll give you the Epstein update. A lot going on in the Epstein thing today. I've got some hot takes, I'll tell you. South Park. We told you about South Park a couple of days ago. They just signed a $1.5 billion deal for their streaming rights to be held by Paramount. So for the next 5 years, you can watch all of your South Park streaming shows and all of that on Paramount. Paramount in the news recently as a media conglomerate. They, of course, fired Stephen Colbert, taking a lot of shit for that. People saying that Paramount fired Stephen Colbert because of a deal they're making with Trump to try and get this Skydance Paramount merger through Washington. All of that stuff is going on. So knowing that South Park signed a deal with Paramount on Monday and that their new season was debuting yesterday, well, I bet a lot of people tuned in and they were not disappointed. South Park went hard. They took their $1.5 billion from Paramount and then turned around 2 days later and just bent their parent company over. Not to mention their shocking depiction of the president. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into what freaking South Park is doing, and we'll show the world's most shocking video. At least that's how it's being presented. And then finally, another thing I want to talk about today, and I shouldn't say finally because, anything can pop up and capture my attention during the show. But one of the other things that I want to get to today is this Brigitte Macron. I've always been fascinated by the Macrons. They're the first family of France. Emmanuel Macron is the president of France. Prime Minister. I don't know what do they got over there. President. I think he's president. But is it one of those countries where the president is just like the fucking mayor of Simpleton? Where the president isn't the top guy. Like there's countries where the president ain't the top guy. Where like the top guy is somebody different and they got a different name. I don't know. Whatever. I should probably learn my global parliamentary rules or whatever. I don't know. All I know is America, and I barely know that. Let's be honest. So whatever. First family. Brigitte Macron, well, the Macrons, they're suing that mean black girl who's always screaming about things that you're shocked to hear a black girl screaming about on Twitter. She's being sued because mean black girl has been going around going, Brigitte Macron was born a dude. Which is funny. Well, all right. So let's break that down first. Okay. So what is that? When someone like Mean Black Girl goes on Twitter for like a year and is like, Brigitte Macron is a dude. Yeah, that's slander. You know what I mean? If she's not a dude, okay. So the lawsuit is here now. The lawsuit is here. But that chick, Mean Black Girl, going Candace or not Candace Owens. Oops. Mean Black Girl. I wasn't gonna say her name. Fuck Candace Owens. I would, by the way. She's kind of hot. She just shut her mouth. Maybe a ball gag could be used in that little sexual encounter between me and Candace, because she'd like me, and she seems like she's D. You know what I mean? She's DTF. She likes that. Anyway, she's being sued by the first family, who is saying, I was not born a man. That's the contention, that Brigitte Macron was born a man, and now she's a woman. Now she's the first lady of France. And Mean Black Girl Candace Owens is out there going, she's more a dude, like she's telling the secret. Now, I've heard this for a while, right? This has been going around for a while. And you think because it's coming from Candace Owens that you're like, yeah, just don't listen to it. She's just hating on trans people. But then hold on. But then think about that. Candace Owens looking at Brigitte Macron and saying she was born a dude and then claiming to have proof. That's the issue. She's got to now show the proof that she claims to have. But just Candace Owens saying Brigitte Macron was born a dude, that's not anti-trans. Looking at someone and going, looking at a woman and going, you were born a dude. I'm pretty sure you look like you were born a dude. That's not anti-trans. Anti-trans is, hey, there's a dude in a dress. Let's beat him with shovels. That's anti-trans. It's hey, let's not give a job to that person because it turns out that they're different than us and we don't like different. That's anti-trans. Seeing somebody and going, I think that used to be a dude. That's not anti-trans. What that is rude. What that is fucking low class. What that is something no normal person would be comfortable just shouting from the mountaintops the way Mean Black Girl does. But it ain't fucking anti-trans. It ain't. It's a dick move, but it ain't. There in no way does that statement suggest that you think trans people don't belong. That suggestion, that suggests that you think trans people exist. Hey, look, there's one now. So you may not like her rude and her caustic, abrasive way of shock journalism, but whatever. She's not being anti-trans. Now, the other question is, she's probably anti-trans. She's probably got a whole bunch of anti-trans stuff in her library of, hits. But in this particular case, just pointing out that someone looks like they used to be born a dude isn't anti-trans. It is cruel and it is slander. And if they can prove that she was born a woman, then Candace Owens is in trouble. But let's pipe down with the she's anti-trans, because that's not what this is about. So now let's get into the real question that we're going to delve into when we talk about this subject in about an hour or so. Could she be? Could she be? Let's just for a moment, let's just look at some pictures. Let's go through their background, because that's really what this is, just an excuse to talk once again about the background of the president and first lady of France and how that's one of the most fucked up things that's ever happened. But somehow, because they're at this elite level, we pretend like it's totally okay. It's romantic. We'll talk about that. You'll be shocked. If you're not familiar with the details, stay tuned. All right. What are we going to do? We got to do top of the show. We're going to get into Hulk Hogan real quick because we got a lot of stuff. Is there anything else that I need to mention? Let's say hi to the folks in the chat room. We got Frankie Smith. We got Jeff. We got April. I saw Ty. Who else? Got to make it bigger. We've been missing people. We've been missing people. Jeff Ballard. She's a pedo for sure. Throw that word around. Stop throwing the word pedo around. Jeff, do me a favor. For the next 6 months, don't say the word pedo or accuse anyone of being a pedophile. Can we go back to the way it was before, like 2010, when that was fucking something that we just didn't talk about all the time? With all that said, a case can be made that she might be a pedo. And we'll get into it. Everything's a pedo. Everybody's a pedo. By the way, I've got my compartments. I always put my compartments, like I'm on my compartments for mass shootings. Is this something I need to be afraid of? Is this something that could happen to anyone? Was this totally random? Is this politically motivated? Is this a faith-based thing? Or is this just bangers at a backyard picnic? Right? I got all these different, well, I got that as well for pedophiles. I do. I know. Oh, look at Pugs hedging on pedophilia. Well, I just think that there are degrees. Like, I think a dude that wants to, create child pornography and like exploit young little kids, you know what I mean? The really worst of the worst. Those people need to be burned alive. And I think it should be done in the town square. And I think it should be televised. But then there's okay, he's a pedophile. He's 19. His girlfriend is 17. He's a pedophile. Shut the fuck up. He's not a pedophile. He's 19. His girlfriend. You know what I mean? We make all of these. So the case of Bridget Macron is definitely another one of these because it occupies a space in the whole pedophilia discussion that I think is very polarizing to people. And that is that I consider there to be a huge difference between a child boy who is molested, or a young man, a young teen boy who is molested, and a young teen girl who is molested. I'm sorry, maybe I'm old school. I make a huge fucking distinction between that because they are two societally different things for that individual to have to now live with. A girl has to live with something that is completely different because of what society says about female sexuality. A boy does. It's different for a boy. So we have these categories. It's all bad. Let me go on record right now saying it's all bad. But, I don't know that we need Bridget Macron going around registering with the neighbors, right? I don't know that but we'll talk about it. We'll get into it. Jeff's like, look up how old she was once. What do you think I'm fucking talking about, Jeff? Do you think I am not briefed up? I'm ready to do a whole segment. Trust me when I tell you, I don't need to look up on it. I know about the romantic candle picnics and all of that. Oh yeah, they were into some weird stuff. And I just don't know that it's as inappropriate as, the Epstein stuff. But okay, we'll make that distinction when we get to that story. Let's start out with the death of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, legendary wrestler, right? 71 years old, heart attack. I'll tell you, man, after what CC said last night, Hulk Hogan's going to die. I was stunned this morning when I saw the Hulk Hogan thing on Twitter. Stunned. I'm like, what does CC know? CC predicted it last night on Shockhouse that Hulk Hogan was going to die, and he died this morning. It's crazy. So Hulk Hogan was a wrestler. He was a personality, right? I mean, his baseline is that he's a wrestler. That's why he's famous, but he hasn't wrestled right in a while. He's more of a what's going on here? Bluetooth pairing. I don't want a Bluetooth pairing. My TV just went nuts. Did I just lose my news feed for the day? No, there we go. Okay. Look, okay, so I'm Gen X, so you would think, Pugs, Hulk Hogan must be right in your wheelhouse. No, I hated Hulk Hogan. I'm sorry. I always thought Hulk Hogan was a dork. And I thought that people who liked Hulk Hogan were dorks. I mean, I saw him in the Rocky movie, Thunder Lips, right? That was impressive. That was the first time I saw him. I'm like, Thunder Lips. Back in those days, I was a Randy Macho Man Savage guy. You know why? Randy Macho Man Savage, that character was far more entertaining than the stupid, arrogant Hulkster, eat your veggies. I mean, come on. I was already pretty cynical at 12 years old. And I'm like, who is this fucking roided up? I'm like, don't you tell me to eat my veggies, man. What kind of toxic blood is fueling your dead heart right now? Wow. I shouldn't have said that because he died of a dead heart today. Anyway, he meant a lot to a lot of people, and I don't mean to besmirch, their fond memories of him, but the dude was, okay, so here's a story. Here's a story about Hulk Hogan. Don't think I ever met him. Don't think I ever, crossed paths at, any kind of interview gangbang thing or anything. I don't think so. I don't even think we ever had him. I don't think so. If we did, it wasn't memorable. But what was memorable was back when I was in Chicago as a producer, Mr. T, who was a big Chicagoan guy, and he lived there and all that stuff, used to appear from time to time on shows that I produced. And I remember Mr. T talking about Hulk Hogan once, and this was to another host, and it was off the air, and they were just discussing the friendship because there was a real friendship between Mr. T and Hulk Hogan. And Mr. T was telling a story about Hulk Hogan off the air. This was not for public consumption. And Mr. T's telling the story about Hulk Hogan. And in the middle of it, Mr. T stops and he goes, and what you need to understand is that Hulk Hogan is maybe the dumbest man that has ever walked the face of the earth. I just thought that was funny. Like Mr. T, who's not known as an intellectual giant, thought Hulk Hogan was even dumber than he was. He's not a smart guy. And if you just look at the carnage of the life that he's lived over the last 25 years, he got old, he ditched his wife for getting old, got a much younger girl, started his kid, right? He raised a bunch of miscreants. Like his daughter is whatever. His kid, Nick, killed another kid drag racing. And then the Hogan family went hard against the family of the kid they killed because they didn't want to lose millions of dollars. It was ugly. It was just all very ugly. But biggest wrestling star in the history of wrestling. That can't be denied, right? I think that if you were to build a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, you would start with Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan goes up there. Maybe you throw Vince McMahon too, right? Died at his Florida home, 71 years old today. He had serious spinal fusion surgery a couple of months back, but that is not expected or thought to be related to this. All right, so let's talk about the sex tape. That's kind of what I want to talk about. I want to go back into that story from a couple of years ago that I was just so obsessed with. And it is, of course, the sex tape that was made and then made public by Gawker Media 15 years ago now. I mean, I don't even know how long it was, but the situation concerning the sex tape was so fascinating to me because it involved a shock radio jock. Hulk Hogan down there in Florida was very good friends with a guy named Bubba the Love Sponge. Now, Bubba the Love Sponge was a well-traveled morning show host. He worked in 15 markets in 10 years. He always got fired, for saying something dirty on the air. He's one of those guys. Bounced around. We had him in Chicago on a station called B96, and he was my morning guy for a year, and he was fucking terrible. He was just like the worst, the most cliched, rando, non-original, hey man, morning show shock jock, that guy. He was terrible. So I wasn't a fan. But I would go into radio later, so I'd follow, I remember Bubba, like his name would pop up in trades and all that. And then at some point, I think in the mid-90s, he landed in the Balloon Knot of America, which is essentially like the Panhandle area of Florida. Tampa. No, it's not. It's Tampa. Yeah. He ended up in Tampa, and out of a base in Tampa, he built an incredibly successful radio operation. Now, he wasn't in any major markets, but there's a lot of small, tiny little shit towns across this country that need syndicated radio. So Bubba the Love Sponge became a bit of a radio star. No major markets outside of Tampa. I believe Tampa was probably his biggest market, but everything else was like, Dothan, Alabama, #1 in mornings. So he had a thing. Don't get me wrong. I would have traded everything in my career to have that thing. He built something that I wish I had. I still think he's a dork, Bubba the Love Sponge, but whatever. Nice name. Said a guy named Pugs. That's right, Jamie. I don't care. Pugs is better than Bubba the Love Sponge. I've still got room to punch down. All right, so what is his net worth? I'll get back into that story. Here's another thing I thought was interesting. Hulk Hogan's net worth, because he won tens of millions of dollars in lawsuits over the last couple of years, right? Like he won 115 million. He was awarded 115 million from the Gawker suit when Hulk Hogan sued Gawker for the release of a sex tape that we're going to talk about. So I'm thinking, how much money does he have? Like Hulk Hogan. Think how big Hulk Hogan was for all those years. How much money does he have? Well, remember, Mr. T called him one of the dumbest people to ever walk the face of the earth. Hulk Hogan was only worth $25 million. I know what you're saying, Pugs. I wish I could only be worth $25 million. Hulk Hogan should be worth $500 million. Fucker's an icon of the highest level. He's only worth $25 million. So Hulk Hogan has been an A-list, top-tier, #1 celebrity since 1985? Okay, 25, 35, 40 years. So in 40 years, Hulk Hogan has only amassed $25 million being Hulk Hogan. He's an idiot. How is that? Look, the fact that he's held on to 25 million is probably very good. It should be a testament. Maybe he was, with some smart women. I don't know. But Hulk Hogan should be worth far more than $25 million. All right. So that I thought was interesting. He was only worth 25 million. All right. So let's talk about the sex tape. So Bubba the Love Sponge became kind of a popular shock jock there in Florida. Hulk Hogan lived in Florida. Hulk Hogan and Bubba became friends. Yeah, brother. A couple of two peas in a pod running around, hitting up strip clubs and all that kind of shit. Bubba the Love Sponge had himself a hooer of a wife. Now, yesterday, if you were listening to the show, you know that I have great admiration for America's hooers. I think that there is nothing derogatory about calling a proud, strong, freedom-loving whore a woman who is sexually liberated and just comfortable doing whatever she wants, whenever she wants, and fuck you and your judgment. That's kind of hot to me. But as I also said yesterday, we here in America have no room for dumb whores. If you are a dumb whore, we do not want you here. Bubba the Love Sponge seems to have married a whore. All right, I don't know nothing suggests that she's a dumb whore, but she's a whore. She likes to have sex with her husband's friends, and that was a part of the relationship. So Bubba the Love Sponge claims that when Hulk was at his lowest, Bubba the Love Sponge said to Hulk, "Why don't you come over and fuck my wife?" And his wife was like, "Okay." And then they had sex, and it got recorded. Now, depending on who you believe, it was either recorded unintentionally in bedroom security cameras, which is weird. Why do you have a fucking camera pointed at your fuck bed? What is that about? You're a weirdo. But that's a Bubba claim. No, it's just because I like to keep cameras. Someone might steal my wallet off the end table, and I'll catch it. Right. Okay. So anyway, they have the sex. Remember, Bubba and Hulk are best friends, so much so that he's sharing his wife with Hulk. Hulk bangs the dude's wife. Then some time goes by, and apparently Gawker Media gets a hold of the tape. Somebody sends the bang tape of Hulk Hogan banging Bubba the Love Sponge's wife to Gawker Media. Gawker Media publishes it. Hogan sues. Billionaire Peter Thiel, who has an axe to grind against Gawker Media because they've been picking on him for so long, banks Hulk Hogan's lawsuit crushes Gawker Media. Gone. Gawker's gone. Gawker used to be a thing. Seemed like it was going to be one of the new media titans of, journalism or news distribution. Nope. Gawker is gone. Hulk Hogan did that. All right, so Hulk Hogan then turned around and sued everybody. He sued like the Clems. That's Bubba the Love Sponge's real last name, Clem. He sued them. They're not friends anymore. Bubba's all upset. I'll tell you what. Why don't we take a trip in the Wayback Machine and go back to the day in question when the story became a big story? Let's watch this. This is the hold on, is this? That's weird. I don't know why I suck so hard. I was going to show you the Inside Edition story. But now I got to find it again because I moved it. Moved it. TMZ. I don't care about TMZ. There we go. All right. Nope, that's not it. You know what? It doesn't matter. Fuck that. We don't need to see the old Inside Edition, please. Like, if I'm using Inside Edition as a source, let's go to Bubba. This was a sit-down interview that Bubba gave about the whole situation with Hulk Hogan. Oh. What the fuck is going on? There's something wrong with my Google Drive. Nothing will connect. Okay. There we go. I had to refresh. Why did I need to refresh? All right, let's listen to this. Here we go. This is Bubba the Love Sponge talking about the time that he got cucked out by Hulk Hogan, his best friend, and then the whole big legal mess that came after that. See, I think we'll start it at like 1:30. Here we go. Okay, let's watch.
In my opinion, between now, don't forget, there were two lawsuits. There was Hogan versus Gawker, and then the lawsuit that nobody knows about, Hogan versus Cox.
Oh, okay.
This all of this was aggregated through Cox Media. People don't, that lawsuit settled. That lawsuit settled. That's the story I'm going to tell. I'm going to tell that story. Everybody knows Hogan versus Gawker and how that worked out. But if you were to go and ask that, people say, well, people don't realize is that my best friend, Hulk Hogan, lived with me at his lowest point of his life in 2007. He was suicidal. I had to take a gun away from him at one time. He was going to kill himself. And we were coming home from the dollhouse one night. My wife and I had a semi-open relation. I mean, we were. I wouldn't say we were necessarily in the lifestyle, but I'm not a jealous guy. I've seen through all of my years on being on radio and the squirt Olympics and the girls pissing in fucking coffee cans and shooting ping pongs balls out their pussies and just all the stuff that I've seen, I've become calloused. So my best friend fucking my wife is not that big a deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
All right. I'm no Bubba the Love Sponge fan. Okay. I admire his career, but I'm not a fan of his content. I don't disagree with him here. I mean, I've said this a bunch of times. This whole possessive thing where, I don't know that I'd go so far as, this, but, the whole, I don't really, if I'm in a relationship with somebody and that somebody wants to go have this, sex with somebody else just to get off, I am long past the part in my relationships where that's a deal breaker. If I like this person, I understand about sexual urges and go ahead, have fun. You're not a possession that I own. Okay. If you want to do that and you talk to me about it, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Cause you know what? As a guy, I walk around all the time. Fucking Hooters waitress crosses in front of me. And I'm like, oh, I'd like to get with that. And if I could, I'd like to be able to. But most relationships are so restrictive. And also, I'm not able to. I'm not one of these good-looking guys. But I understand when, good-looking couples, when they're like, we're open, I'm like, yeah, why not? Have the sex. You could be dead tomorrow. You can just be crossing the street and get hit by a bus or, wake up with a brain aneurysm, whatever. Have fun. Sex is, just sex. So I do agree with, I don't agree completely with what he did here because, I don't know. When the rubber hits the road, no pun intended on this. When the rubber hits the road, I don't know that I could go through with it. I don't know if I could, I don't know. I'll leave town. Look, if it happens when I'm out of town, just don't tell me about it. Don't be talking about it behind my back. So there's people that know and I don't. That's it. Respect the ego of the person being cucked. I think that's all I'm asking. Anyway, here you go.
Oh, you guys were married? You guys were together?
Yeah, we were married. And so we're driving home from the dollhouse, and my wife calls me, and Hogan's down. He's going through the worst fucking divorce ever. And I just told her, I said, hey, Heather, have a little sexy outfit on and take care of my boy when we get home. And it was pretty much that. It was pretty much that simple. The chain of custody of the tape is a story in itself. Heather and I were going through a very nasty divorce, and I didn't want that, that DVD at my house at that time. So I took it and put it in my office, and an employee stole it, and the rest is history. The employee disseminated it. The employee used it to try to extort Hogan for $1 million. There was an FBI. Did you know that there was an FBI sting?
I had no fucking clue.
No, nobody knows this. No.
Yeah, nobody knows it because you just make shit up. You're a shock jock. I don't know if that's true at all. But he claims there, Bubba the Love Sponge, that the whole sex tape thing wasn't. See, Hogan blamed Bubba for taking the tape and then marketing it to the highest bidder. That's what Hogan believed his best friend did to him. This is Bubba we just heard saying, I didn't do that. It was because my bitch wife. Oh, the one you gave to your... they're just so weird. Just such weird people. First of all, could you imagine being like, yeah, my best friend, Hulk Hogan? What do you have in common with Hulk Hogan? I couldn't be best friends with Hulk Hogan. I'd be like, dude, would you just put a shirt on? What the fuck? You're so weird. Brother. Stop calling me brother, man. What? Couldn't be friends with Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's a little bit too over the top. Well, look at me. I'll never have the chance, will I? We'll never be able to test that theory out. All right, so Hulk Hogan died. Bunch of people are sad, and I get it. It's that sentimental thing. Takes people right back to their childhood when you were 12. If you loved Hulk Hogan, you're probably sad today. When I was 12, I thought Hulk Hogan was a dork. So I'm kind of like, everybody dies. He's such a dork. It's crazy. Oh, brother. I'll tell you what I did like, though. Can I give a little Hogan credit where credit is due? I liked when he went to the WCW when he became Hollywood Hulk Hogan. With the black charcoal beard. Remember, that was it. That was his heel turn. He just made his beard black. And then he was just a fucking unapologetic dick for like a bunch of years. I kind of dug that Hulk. I dug it from a career perspective. I was like, this is very interesting that one of the most iconic faces in the history of kayfabe is now going to be this unbelievable heel. And I know that it's happened before, that people have done heel turns like that. Hell, that's why there's the term heel turn, but not really at the level of Hulk Hogan, really. I mean, he could have very easily been like, no, I'm going to lean into the eat your veggies bullshit until I die, because you know what? It's made me a lot of money. But no, he took a risk and he went in the other direction and kind of reinvented him. And that's when I kind of went, oh, he's doing something interesting now. All right, Hulk Hogan, dead at the age of 71. Now, let's get into the idea of where does Hulk Hogan fit, right? The Death Trilogy. So the way we were talking on Shock House last night, the way we were talking was that whoever died next would complete the trilogy. The trilogy being Malcolm Jamal Warner on the 20th, Ozzy Osbourne on the 22nd, and then whoever would come in the next couple of days would complete the trilogy. Once again, I said Bruce Willis because there was a big story yesterday about him declining in his health and all that stuff. Keith, for some wildly unknown reason, just threw out William Shatner. Shatner's going to die. Why, Keith? Is he sick? Nah, I just don't like him. So, that was fun. But Keith nailed Hulk Hogan last night. Said, no Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's going to die. Like, huh? And then I said, I don't know that the next person who dies is going to close out the Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne death trilogy. It might start a new one. Because if you remember last week, Connie Francis died, to which both Keith and CC were like, who? Connie Francis? And I'm like, dude, she's in a death trilogy. Connie Francis was your grandma's favorite singer for 2 decades. Just because she outkicked her coverage, this is a problem. And I think I said this yesterday. There are a lot of people who, if they would have died within like 10 years of their peak fame, would be unquestioned super famous, right? But when you haven't had a hit song since 1959 and it's now 2025 and you die, it's hard for people to be like, that was a celebrity. But fuck that. Connie Francis was a celebrity. Big time. So where did she fall? That was the problem. I'm like, is it Connie Francis, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, and the next person starts a new trilogy? I don't know. So here's what I did. I applied the rules of the Death Trilogy, the rules that I made up years and years ago. The rules of the Death Trilogy state this. You do it at the beginning of the year. You do it. It starts. It coincides with you saying, here's my 2025 death list. Here are the celebrities that I believe will die. The death pool is always very popular. But then that's when you start. So January 1st at midnight, you start the clock rolling on the death trilogies. You start anew with every year. Okay. So if there weren't 3 that died and formed a trilogy in December to close out 2024, then it just doesn't close out. You start anew on January 1st at midnight. Now, what are the rules for the death trilogies? Okay. 10 days. It's 10 days. Because 10 days is the amount of days that most psychologists or something believe that people lose interest or forget about something. So in order to have someone die and then remember when somebody also famous died earlier, it shouldn't be more than 10 days. Because people are like, oh yeah, I forgot. They died 12 days ago. I forgot 12 days. But 10 days is typically the amount of time that the brain will go, oh yeah, okay. It's like a week and a weekend, right? That's kind of the thinking there. All right, so it's 10 days. 3 celebrities have to die within 10 days, beginning at midnight on January 1st of the new year. All right, so here's what we got. And I'll answer the question as to where Hulk Hogan fits. We've had a pretty crazy year of day here. Let me pull this up. Where are my death trilogies? Here we go. Okay. Some fun facts before we dive into the numbers. Yeah, I'm weird. I literally did this. I swear to God, this should be its own video, maybe. Maybe weird necro freaks will like tune into a video that actually establishes and does a full accounting of where we are in the death trilogy game. But here we go. All right, for 2025 so far, we've got 14 death trilogies. 14 celebrity death trilogies have occurred in 2025 so far, okay? 9 of them are what we call legit death trilogies. What is a legit death trilogy? A legit death trilogy is 3 celebrities of unquestioned fame who die within 10 days, right? Those are legit ones. We do, however, for accounting purposes, we have other ones. Like there are some that are non-legit trilogies, you know, like instead of being 10 days, all 3 of them died. It took 14 days for all of these, right? So anyway, that's how we do it. So we've got 14 legit death trilogies in 2025. 9 of them are legit. And one is a supernatural, a mega natural, an uva natural, if you will. It's 3 celebrities all died on the very same day. The rarest of the rare in the death trilogy. Also, the rule with a natural is, regardless of where you are in a trilogy, if 3 celebrities die on the same day, they are their own trilogy. They are their own trilogy, and you will pick up a new trilogy after them. All right. All right, so are you ready? Here we go. Let's start out. The very first death trilogy of 2025, the first 3 celebrities to pass were Wayne Osmond. He's a member of the Osmonds. He's one of the Osmond brothers. Wayne Osmond on January 1st. Peter Yarrow on January 7th. He's Peter, Paul, and Mary. Puff the magic dragon. All right, Wayne Osmond on the 1st, Peter Yarrow on the 7th, and Bill McCartney on the 10th. Bill McCartney is weird to close out the first death trilogy of 2025 because I talked about Bill McCartney yesterday again on Shock House. Bill McCartney is the longtime coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. If you remember, quarterback Sal Inessi was banging Bill McCartney's daughter, and it turned into a whole NCAA scandal. Probably cost Eric Bieniemy the Heisman that year. Bill McCartney would go on to form the Promise Keepers, you know, that big Christian group. Anyway, there you go. That's the first death trilogy of 2025. Wayne Osmond, Peter Yarrow, and Bill McCartney. That is a legit death trilogy, all having occurred within 10 days. Number 2, the second death trilogy of this year was a natural. It's a beautiful natural, and it's a big natural. How about this? On January 15th of this year, David Lynch died. Woo! Auteur, true artist, one of the great American avant-garde, bizarro, and yet still weirdly commercial directors in American history. David Lynch died on January 15th. Who joined him in this natural? How about Dame Joan Plowright? Big-time famous old-time actress, got a bunch of Oscars. You know, the Queen is like, you are a dame. Dame Joan Plowright. Also dead on the 15th, along with David Lynch. How are we going to round this out? Well, around supper time on January the 15th, the world was saddened to learn of the passing of the great Bob Uecker. Bob Uecker. January 15th. That's a natural. You got David Lynch, Joan Plowright, and Bob Uecker. Woo, the rare natural. All right, the third death trilogy of the year that we have here. It's not legit. It fell 2 days outside the 10-day limit, but that consists of Garth Hudson from the band. Whoopo, great. You know, Garth Hudson, he's great. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. Garth, Wayne and Garth from Wayne's World. Wayne's World. Garth is named after Garth Hudson. There you go. All right, so on January 21st, we lost Garth Hudson. January 30th, Marion Faithfull. And on February 5th, just outside the legit time frame, we lost Irv Gotti. Irv Gotti, the rapper guy, the hip-hop guy. All right, there you go. Number 4, the fourth trilogy was also non-legit. It occurred on February 7th with the loss of actor Tony Roberts. Tony Roberts, if you don't know who he is, you're not a Woody Allen fan, because Tony Roberts starred in every Woody Allen film between like 1968 and 1990. Tony Roberts died on this day in February 7th. He was followed by Jerry Butler on February 20th. Jerry Butler, one half of the Impressions, partners with Curtis Mayfield, two-time inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a true legend, the great Jerry Butler. They were followed by Lynn Marie Stewart. Lynn Marie Stewart is most famous. By the way, she died at 78 on February 21st. Lynn Marie Stewart died. Most recently, she was known as Charlie's mom in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Charlie's mom. However, she is best known to me in my generation because she's one of the original Pee-wee's Playhouse people. She was Miss Yvonne from Pee-wee's Playhouse. All right, so there you go. Now it's not a legit threesome. These were all within how many days? 14 days. So that was a 14-day threesome, death trilogy, not legit, but we still count it for accounting purposes. All right. Here's the fifth one. This is legit. It's the third legit of the year. On February 24th, we lost Roberta Flack. On February 26th, we lost Michelle Trachtenberg. And on February 26th, we also lost Gene Hackman. That's a good one. That's all within 2 days. Roberta Flack, Michelle Trachtenberg, and Gene Hackman. All right, that's a good one. February 24th and 2 on the 26th. Number 6, okay, this is also not legit, but we included for accounting purposes. On March 21st, we lost George Foreman. On March 29th, we lost Richard Chamberlain. And on April 1st, we lost Val Kilmer. That would have been a great death trilogy had these 3 people fallen within the 10-day allotment, but they didn't. This one seems to be about, March 21st to April 1st. 7, 8, 9. Oh, that's so close. Did that one miss by 1 day? Fuck it. I'm calling that one legal. All right. George Foreman, Richard Chamberlain, and Val Kilmer. I'm counting that a legit death trilogy. All right. Number 7 death trilogy of 2025. This one began on April 15th with the passing of game show legend Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale died on April 15th. Then on April 21st, April 21st, this long ago, huh? I guess it is. Wink Martindale is joined in his death trilogy by Pope Francis. And we round out this non-legit trilogy with the passing of the great comedian Ruth Buzzy on May the 1st. Ruth Buzzy. All right, here we go. The number 8th trilogy of the year and the 4th truly legitimate one. Remember, a legitimate death trilogy are 3 celebrities who die within 10 days of each other. On May the 20th, George Wendt, Norm from Cheers. His trilogy is Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty, who died 5 days after George Wendt. George Wendt died on the 20th. Phil Robertson died on the 25th. And then on the 26th, Rick Derringer, 60s and 70s rock star. He was, of course, the lead singer of the McCoys. What was that one song? Hang On, Sloopy. And then, of course, Rick Derringer, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. Rock and Roll Hoochie, Rock and Roll. Rick Derringer rounds out that, the eighth death trilogy of 2025, the 4th legit death trilogy. All right, let's move on. Here we go. We're coming up into we're going to answer the question, does Hulk Hogan start a new death trilogy, or does he finish out a Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne death trilogy? Let's get to that right here. The 9th death trilogy, the 5th legit one, although admittedly this one is kind of weak. On May 30th, we lost Loretta Swit. She was, of course, Hot Lips Houlihan and MASH. Loretta Swit died on May 30th. On May 31st, Valerie Mahaffey. I included her because I didn't recognize the name, but I looked at the picture and I went, oh, her? Valerie Mahaffey is a that girl actor. You know, we have these like that guy actors, the character actors. You see him in a million things and you're like, oh, yeah, I know that dude, but you don't know his name. That's Valerie Mahaffey. She started, I remember her from the show Northern Exposure because I used to love Northern Exposure back in the day and she was a regular on that. But she's appeared in a whole bunch. I think she was Young Sheldon. She was in Young Sheldon most recently. But anyway, Valerie Mahaffey, of that girl actor, joins a death trilogy with Loretta Swit. And finally, on June 1st, rounding out that death trilogy, of course, it was Jonathan Joss. We talked extensively about Jonathan Joss, best known as John Redcorn from King of the Hill, but also Chief Hotep from Parks and Recreation, which is where I thought he was most funny. Jonathan Joss died on June 1st. So there you go. That's the 9th death trilogy of 2025 and the 5th legit one. Although I admit Loretta Swit, Valerie Mahaffey, and Jonathan Joss is kind of weak. But let's go. Here we go. Number 10. This is a big one. On June 9th of this year, we began the 10th death trilogy of 2025 with the passing of rock and roll icon, legend, genius, the great Sly Stone. Sly and the Family Stone gets his own death trilogy. And guess who moves in with him 2 days later? His buddy, Brian Wilson. Yeah, Brian Wilson and Sly Stone were friends. And they died 2 days away from each other. That is a very good start to a death trilogy. Brian Wilson and Sly Stone in the same trilogy? Woo! All right, we're going to round it out with that guy actor. Yeah, I wish he could have been a stronger one. I wish there could have been somebody else of the stature of Sly Stone or Brian Wilson, right? But nah, we got Harris Yulin. Harris Yulin, who died on the 10th. So you got Sly Stone on the 9th, you got Brian Wilson on the 11th, and Harris Yulin on the 10th. Just, I'll tell you what, do this. Just go to Google right now and write Harris Yulin, and the picture will pop up, and you'll go, oh, yeah, he's famous. Yeah, I know that guy. He's one of them that guy actors. He's been in everything. He usually plays an old man, maybe a lawyer, sometimes a corrupt politician, oftentimes a corporate type. Harris Yulin died on this day, June 10th. All right. The 11th death trilogy of 2025 and the 6th legitimate trilogy. Of course, a legitimate trilogy falls within 10 days. On this day, June 24th, we lost Bobby Sherman. Bobby Sherman. He's a pop guy, right? Bobby Sherman. He was like a Tiger Beat dude. He was very famous. I couldn't name a song that he did or whatever, but he's very famous and he died. Okay, so there you go. We begin that one. Bobby Sherman on the 24th of June. He was followed by Kylie Page. She's a porn star. But I remember when she died, and it was kind of a big story, and, you know, it got coverage. So, okay, for the purposes of creating this death trilogy, joining Bobby Sherman will be adult film star, 28-year-old Kylie Page, who died on the 25th. So Bobby Sherman died on the 21st. Kylie Page, porn star, died on the 25th. And then here's another one that's a little bit rough, but look, whatever. I'm Gen X. Rick Hurst. Rick Hurst died on June 26th, closing out that trilogy. Who's that? Well, he's Cletus. Cletus Hogg from, Bo and Luke Dukes of Hazzard. So, of course, I put Cletus in there. Bobby Sherman, Kylie Page, and Cletus round out the 11th death trilogy. All right, that started a new one. On July the 1st, we had a brand new clean slate. I love to go into a new month with a clean slate. Dead on July 1st, disgraced preacher, Jimmy Swaggart. On July 3rd, one of my favorites, Michael Madsen. Actor Michael Madsen joins Jimmy Swaggart in his death trilogy. That was followed up on July 4th by another one of my favorites, Julian McMahon. Of course, Julian McMahon from Nip Tuck. So that's July 1st, July 3rd, and July 4th. Jimmy Swaggart, Michael Madsen, and Julian McMahon. They make a death trilogy. The 13th and the 8th legit one occurred on the 10th of July when we lost political strategist, servant to 3 presidents, and constant on CNN, David Gergen, political strategist, CNN analyst. David Gergen died on July the 10th. He was joined in his little trilogy with David Caff. All right, if you don't know David Caff, Viv Savage. Does Viv Savage mean anything to you? David Gergen died on the 10th of July, and Viv Savage died on the 11th. Viv Savage was in Spinal Tap. He's the keyboard player. He's the guy with the crazy hair who always looked. He did the electroshock thing. Viv Savage joins David Gergen. Viv Savage, British actor and musician. David Caff was his real name. David Gergen, David Caff, and this is important. On July the 16th, closing out the David Gergen, David Caff, Viv Savage trilogy is Connie Francis. Connie Francis died on July the 16th, 4 days before Malcolm Jamal Warner. Connie Francis closed out the Death Trilogy. So you know what that means? Woo! All right, let's find out where Hulk Hogan stands, because on July 20th, just this past Sunday, my birthday, Malcolm Jamal Warner, star of The Cosby Show, died in a swimming accident. He begins a new Death Trilogy. Malcolm Jamal Warner. He was followed 2 days later by Ozzy Osbourne. Holy shit. That was 2 days ago. It's the 24th. On the 22nd, we lost Ozzy Osbourne. So my God, I wake up this morning and I see that Hulk Hogan has died. And I'm like, this is a big one. Malcolm Jamal Warner, Malcolm Jamal Warner on the 20th, Ozzy Osbourne on the 22nd, and Hulk Hogan on the 24th. Oh my God. I'm like, that's a good one. Theo Huxtable, Ozzy, and the Hulkster. Those are 3 big ones, man. So we were all set to roll with that. And then around about noon today, I just checked the news aggregators, and there's another news story posting. Well, guess what? Chuck Mangione. Chuck Mangione died. And Chuck Mangione died 2 days ago. So guess what? Hulk Hogan is not in the Death Trilogy. Hulk Hogan having died on the 24th. Chuck Mangione died on the 22nd, the same day as Ozzy Osbourne. Chuck Mangione and Ozzy Osbourne joined Malcolm Jamal Warner in that Death Trilogy, and Hulk Hogan begins a new one. All right, so who's going to join Hulk Hogan? I'm still going with Bruce Willis. All right, so once again, so now we have the rules established. We are, the next big celebrity to die will join Hulk Hogan in a new trilogy, right? And then we're going to need one more and we'll close that out. All right. Cece says Rick Derringer sang Hulk Hogan's entrance song, Real American. Is that Rick Derringer, really? Oh my God, would you look at how everything comes together? Come together. All right, there we go. Death Trilogy talk, good. I'm keeping that list too, by the way, because I think at the end of the year that might come in handy to be able to, do a whole celebrity death kind of list thing. So I made a whole page Death Trilogy. All right, let's talk about the Epstein stuff. The Epstein stuff is still happening and isn't going away. Every single day there's another big Epstein story. Let's see. Today it's Let's Make a Deal, Ghislaine. The bigwig. What's his name? Todd Blanche, what's his name? I don't know, some bigwig, some like deputy director of bullshit there at the Department of Justice is going to have a meeting, going to meet up, or already did, maybe it already happened, with Ghislaine Maxwell. Again, this is a representative of the department that 2 weeks ago said, yeah, we got all the information we need. We're pretty satisfied with telling the American people that there is no pedophile problem and the world's just going to move on. Hey, we're going to arrest Obama. That's basically 2 weeks ago. That was the attitude. Now this same Department of Justice is like, we're going to fly to Florida and we're going to talk to Ghislaine, to which I say, you never spoke to her before? Seriously, you incompetent fuck. Here's my problem with it. They sent this Blanche guy, who's a political appointment. His job is a political appointment. Well, where did he come from? He's Trump's defense attorney. He is Trump's defense. Just wrap your fucking noodle mind around that. We're trying to get to the bottom of a story that very well may include the sitting president of the United States. So the person that we're supposed to trust to go and get the information is somebody who has been paid and now propelled into a position of power in the Department of Justice because he was the president's defense attorney. Well, he's no longer the president's defense attorney. He now acts on behalf of the American people in his role as the deputy director of the Department of Justice. Fuck you. He's the president's defense attorney. So Ghislaine's going to make a deal. Ghislaine's going to get a flat screen. She's going to get barbecue delivered in once a week for her and the girls. She's got to do that. She can't just be for her. She's got to be able to do it for the whole cell block so she becomes popular, right? This is nonsense. I told you yesterday, man. I told you yesterday. Don't believe a goddamn thing that comes out of this Department of Justice on the subject of Epstein. They have crossed the Rubicon on what is believable and what is bullshit. Everything now is to be considered bullshit from the beginning. So we'll see. What did Ghislaine tell you, Todd Blanche, Trump's defense attorney? What did she tell you in your meeting? Nothing. She said that, this is all being blown out of proportion. She says that, they were just, one of the girls was just she was turning 18 next week. Whatever. It's going to be bullshit. We're not going to believe any of it. Again, I tell you, the only thing that I will believe is a host of victims sitting in front of a bipartisan Congress on fucking TV, naming names. That's what I want. And that's what we should all want. But somehow they won't give it to us, even though the votes are there in Congress to get that done. The votes are there. They're all going, hey, we can do this right now. Except there's one guy, little Mike Johnson. Oh, I'm looking at him right now. Kill this fucking guy. He's the worst. He's going to be history is not going to view this complicit son of a bitch well. Anyway, Mike Johnson. We're going vacationing. We're not going to have a vote, even though. All right, so now for the next, here's what's happening. The 11 Republicans who moved over to the Democrat side and are going to say, hey, we want to see everything. Those Republicans now, there's a month or so before Congress gets back together. There's a month where these dudes can be worked over by the political agents that comprise MAGA or the Republican Party. They're going to make deals now with these 11. So when they come back in a month, they're not going to have the votes anymore. That's what Mike Johnson is doing. They got the votes now, so there's not going to be a vote. So give us some time to convince these guys not to vote that way, and then we'll have a vote. What are they going to get? What are these people who are demanding answers going to get? You're going to get a new stop sign down on Maine for their congressional district? They're going to get a new B-52 plant? Yeah, we're going to move a B-52 plant into my congressional district. I no longer want to know anything about the Epstein files. So Ghislaine's going to make her deal. The other big story that came out last night was a leak of some sort. I don't know. Where did this story come from? That Pam Biondi, the Attorney General of the United States, informed Trump that his name, here, I'll just read it to you, I guess. Donald Trump was informed a month ago by Pam Biondi that his name appears multiple times in the Jeffrey Epstein files the very same day that she recommended against releasing all documents. So remember that day we should remember because it was a huge day. It was a big bombshell day. Everybody went, what? Remember when she came out and she's like, yeah, there's nothing to see here. And then her little troll puppets echoed her statements all over, Kash Patel. Nothing to see here. We was wrong. So on that very same day that she did that, the very same day that she told the American people as the Attorney General that there was absolutely nothing that we need to know about the Epstein case, the very same day she reportedly went to President Trump before she made that statement that there's nothing to see here and told him that your name appears all over it. The stuff that I've seen, you're all over it. And if you think I'm overstating it, let's let Pam Biondi reportedly say what she said to the president then. She said, here we go. Donald Trump was informed by Pam Biondi that his name appears multiple times, quote, in the Epstein files. She did this the same day that she recommended against releasing the documents. Your name's all over it. I don't think we should tell people that your name's all over it. And he's like, okay, nobody's interested in this anyway. Senior administration officials claim that the Attorney General told Trump during a May 25th meeting that his name was found in the Epstein documents more than previously thought. among hundreds of other high-profile individuals. So according to this leak, Pam Biondi told the President of the United States, hey, so I went through the Epstein files, you're all over it, but so are a whole other bunch of important names. I think we should keep it a secret. That's what happened. That's what happened, man. They don't think that we should know this stuff. They don't think, they look down on us. We're the great unwashed. We're the peasant class. Well, they just don't understand that diddling children when you have $1 billion is perfectly acceptable behavior. Fuck you. We're coming for you. We're coming for all of you, just so you know. Senior administration officials claimed that Biondi told Trump during a May 25th meeting that his name was found in the Epstein documents more than previously thought and listed among hundreds of other high-profile individuals. The files contained unverified hearsay about Trump and the individuals who had social connections to Epstein. Pam Biondi, then for her part, the story broke last night. So you look at these stories, right? They break on CNN or Fox News or whatever at like 8 o'clock in prime time so that their big primetime shows can really sink their teeth into this new breaking issue. So it breaks about 8 o'clock last night, this story. And then this morning, Pam Biondi wakes up and she clears her schedule. She is in hiding. Pam Biondi canceled a speech that she had this morning at the some CPAC group. The Attorney General was supposed to make a big speech, and then in light of the news that broke last night, she claimed that she's sick. Pam Biondi abruptly canceled her appearance at a high-profile anti-trafficking summit, citing a sudden medical emergency. The Attorney General, who has been under siege over the Epstein files, was scheduled to appear at CPAC's Summit Against Human Trafficking when a speaker at the event made the stunning announcement. They said, here's what they said. I do have a note from the Attorney General, Pam Biondi, that I wanted to share with you all in attendance. Acting Assistant Attorney General Matthew R. Gallietto said. All right, and then she said, I'm sick, a cornea surgery. She said, I had cornea surgery and I can't give a speech because I had cornea surgery 18 months ago. It's the weirdest thing. She's hiding. She's dodging this story. She doesn't want press to look at her and directly say, did you inform the president? Because then she'd have to lie. Because there are obviously people in the room who are talking to the press and leaking these stories. And then it's going to turn into, well, these two people were in the room and they say that you did. So she's hiding. That's what they do. They hide. They don't want to answer that question because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing considering that hours after she informed the president that he's all over the Epstein files that she's seen, she then went on camera and told the American people nothing to see here. She doesn't want to answer those questions. And you can understand why. What else do we have? Anything else? I don't know, man. There's so much. But I think those are the two big things that you should probably be aware of. You can also mention Clinton's probably all over it too, right? I just want to make sure we get that out there so you people don't think I'm just anti-Trump. Clinton's all over there too. Hey, if Clinton's all over there, let's go. Let's get the name. I'd love to fucking bring that guy out, right? But Clinton has been getting away with this for this long. Let's expose him too. Let's expose him. Let's expose Trump. Let's expose whomever. The former CEO of Atari or whatever. Because again, that's what I think we're actually going to be dealing with here. I don't know that we're going to be dealing with Mick Jagger. Oh my God, Mick Jagger is, I don't know that we're going to be dealing with that. I think we're going to be dealing with a lot of guys who head up companies. I think we're going to be dealing with a lot of guys who are in charge of banks and shit like that. I think that's why they're being protected. Nobody protects celebrities. So, the celebrity class gets protected. The celebrity class, they're like in the 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollar range. I'm a movie star. I'm worth 50 million. Those people are fucking paupers to the people we're talking about. Nobody gives a shit about somebody who's worth 50 million when you're worth 50 billion. There you go. You don't give a shit. So it's not about protecting celebrities, and that's who we want to see. We want to see a list with Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg on it. It's not about that. It's about protecting the titans of industry in this country. All right. All right, the next fun thing that we're going to do here, kids, we're going to talk about this Mean Girl versus the nation of France. Candace Owens, who's hot. She's hot. Oh, but don't you think what she says is ugly? I don't know. I never heard what she says. I just read headlines attributed to her, and I just don't go any further. But I see the picture, and I go, I sure would. She's a very hot chick. She doesn't like being black, though. She's one of these self-loathing black people. She's kind of like, remember the chick in Clueless, who was like the self-loathing black girl who hung around with all like the hot white rich chicks? What was that chick's name? Anyway, that's what Candace Owens is kind of cosplaying as in real life. She's been able to turn it into quite the little internet thing. She's got a lot of followers. She says crazy stuff. A lot of it has to do with the fact that she's hot. Like, I imagine, like, her typical viewer, the typical Candace Owens viewer is a 50-year-old, overweight, miserably married piece of shit dude, right? I just love Candace Owens. And she says stuff that they like. He's like, man, she's saying stupid stuff that makes me think. And then they look at her and they're like, I can jerk off too? You mean I can jerk off and hate on the libtards? Oh my God, Candace Owens is the greatest. Anyway, that's what I think is a big part of her success. So she's been going on for quite some time now about Brigitte Macron, who is the wife of Emmanuel Macron, who is the leader of France, president of France, whatever, king of France, emperor of France, the Napoleon of France, I don't know. So Candace Owens has been going on for a while now, talking about that's a man, baby. You know, she's been looking. She's been basically saying that Brigitte Macron, the first lady of France, was born a dude. She's been saying it for a long time, and I don't know if she's the only one saying it, or I don't know if she was the first one who started saying it. But it's something that I've heard. It's something that I spend time on social media. I've seen people post, she's a dude. But then again, you weird MAGA fucks, you guys have no fucking clue what you're looking at. I don't know what, like I've seen like people like pictures of Taylor Swift, who is a 10 out of 10. You're a fucking fag if you don't think she's hot as hell, okay? Taylor Swift is a smoke show. And I've seen like some of you MAGA dudes be like, she looks like she's got a dick. No, she doesn't, gay boy. What are you dreaming that she's got a dick? She doesn't look like she's got a dick. So the Brigitte Macron thing, I was a little bit like in that camp where I'm like, what are you talking about? She doesn't. So I investigated. I started looking at some pictures of Brigitte Macron, and we'll talk a little bit about the history there. But first, let's take a look at who we're looking at. And just out of the box, let's say, can we see it? Because I consider myself a tremendous judge of trans people. I used to always say, I cannot be fooled. Like you can, if you're like really hot and you're in a dress, I can still tell. They tried to, Mindy Marks. Is that her name? Mindy Marks. Hold on. Let me look for some. This all started like in the 90s when I made some statement that I couldn't be fooled by, a transsexual or whatever we were calling them back in the 90s. And Gary Meyer, who was a big radio host in Chicago, he was the show that was on after us. He had a guest on, and I think her name was Mindy Marks. And she was really hot, right? I mean, she's really hot. Turned out to be a dude. But she was really hot. And so he brought me in, and I was in the producer booth, and he had me talking to her and all of this. And then somehow it got to the point where I said, yeah, oh, that's true. But that's a dude. Like I knew, like I could tell, even though she was super hot, I could tell it's a dude. And he was blown away. He was like, no way. How can you tell that she is totally, I guess they call it passable. I'm like, there's always something. There's always just something that I can kind of, like some people can imitate people after just hearing their voice once. I just got to look at you. I can look at you and I can tell what's between your legs. It's a skill. And again, that skill doesn't make me anti. It just makes me skilled. All right, let me see if it's Mindy Marks. Hold on. And then we'll get into Brigitte Macron. Right, Mindy Marks? No. Apparently there's a lot of people named Mindy Marks. What if I went Mindy Marks trans? Yeah, never mind. All right, whatever. Anyway, Mindy Marks was the first like halfway passable one, but even her I nailed. All right, so let's look. Well, I didn't nail. Well, poor choice of words, but you know what I mean. All right, so let's look at Brigitte Macron. Here we go. Brigitte Macron is being accused by mean black girl on the Twitters of being born a dude. So let's see if that checks out. All right, let's get a look at her. All right, here we go. All right, there she is on the left. Now, she is significantly older than her swarthy young boy toy. And we'll get into why she's significantly older. All right, there she is. All right, you know. All right. I'm trying to, all right. She looks like a woman. She wears good clothes. All right. So here we go. All right. Again, we're looking at pictures of Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France. She is suing Candace Owens because Candace Owens said that she was born a man. I have no information as to how she was born. We're simply looking at pictures to see if I can, tell or not. So, look, I do not know if I had never heard this rumor that she was born a man. I do not know that I would look at her cold and go, well, she was obviously born a man. I don't know. It's kind of good. Look, dude, she's like 70-something years old. She looks pretty fucking great for 70-something years old, man or woman, whatever. But since I know that there is some question as to whether or not she is born a dude, I can see some masculine features. I can see how that, and we're going to call it an unfound rumor. I can see how that unfound rumor could take some legs, right? Because you look at her and you're, what's going on here? What is it? Oh, is that smoker's lip? Is that a thing? You ever heard of like the smoker's lip? Women, when they get older, like if they smoke their whole life, by the time they're like 50, they get this smoker's lip right here, and then they also get these things on the sides of their face. Anyway, that looks like she's French, so she's probably been chain smoking cigarettes since she's 13 months old. So that would account for that. All right, I can see. Look, she's fine looking 70-something year old woman, and yeah, I can see she's got kind of a masculine face. All right, so there you go. I asked the question about Brigitte Macron in light of this lawsuit filed against Candace Owens. I asked the question. I said, could it be true? So we've just looked at some pictures, and I'm going to tell you that I think it could be true. Look, it could be. Now let's get into it a little. Okay. Been burying the lead here about the relationship between Brigitte Macron and her president of France husband. There is a significant age difference, I think 20-something years. And they met when she was his teacher. Okay? This is a teacher-student. This is a teacher-student thing that we here in the United States of America put people in jail for and destroy their reputation. I mean, just think of Mary Kay Letourneau and Billy Falau, right? Mary Kay Letourneau and Billy Falau, she started hooking up with Billy Falau when he was 14. Not good, right? Can we just establish that? Not good. And we all judged them, and we were all like, yeah, it's terrible. She's ruining his life. She went to jail. Mary Kay Letourneau went to jail for it. Those two were like married for like 30 years and they had kids and all that shit. So, yeah, it was distasteful in the beginning, but they kind of proved everybody wrong. They were kind of like, well, and then Mary Kay Letourneau died. She died, but she ended up being with Billy Falau, her 13-year-old student, for like ever until she died. They were together. So, ugh. And again, that's I say that there are two sides to this. I absolutely draw a distinction between a teacher-student relationship between, the gym coach and like the 13-year-old cheerleader. Yeah, that's a problem because that's a whole power dynamic thing, and society will look at it differently for good reasons. That's a different situation than, a 14-year-old banging his hot art teacher. I mean, that's just a 14-year-old boy banging his hot art teacher. That gets out. He is a hero. He is like, happens with a girl. And that girl's father has every right to take a baseball bat to the head of that gym coach. I make that distinction. But Pugs, that's not fair. It's not the same. No, a lot of shit in life ain't fair. A lot of shit in life ain't the same. A lot of things we have to look at face value and then make a judgment in the moment. And that's where I come down on the difference between what happens when a teacher is with a female student and what happens when a female teacher is with a male student. Because that's what we're talking about here with Bridget Macron and an obvious stud of a student. And I don't mean stud sexually. I mean a dude who would rise to be president of France, was probably a pretty good student, was probably a pretty serious kid. I mean, I can't think of anybody who rose to president. Well, Jesus. What am I saying? I was just going to say, I can't think of anybody who rose to president of the United States and was probably a fuck up and a troublemaker in high school. But Trump was totally a troublemaker. And George Bush wasn't a great student. Like, I'm sure George Bush, when he was 16, they weren't going, yeah, I got to be president someday. But there are a lot of others, so you can't say that. You know, I mean, you hear stories about Bill Clinton coming out of the trailer park and like never not getting anything less than an A. You hear stories about Barack Obama learning to speak 4 different languages before he was 15 years old. I mean, these are studious, serious people. So I believe Frances Macron was probably a studious, serious student who was getting a little special attention from, you know, I wonder if she was hot back then. Are there any pictures of them back then? I think I've seen pictures of them. Anyway, she hooked up with her student. They stayed together forever, and she is now First Lady of France. Yes, that is all very weird, and that is why Jeff earlier in the show called her a pedophile. I just don't think she's a predator. Okay, there you go. Okay, all right. You know what? That'll be the compromise. She's a non-predator pedophile. What do you mean she's not a predator? She took advantage of that young boy. No, she didn't. No, she didn't take advantage of him. That young boy was sitting there, and this hot woman, I bet she was hot 30 years ago, and this like kind of hot teacher is like, you want to fuck? And he's like, okay. Oh, I'm feeling so taken advantage of. I'm a horny 14-year-old with a MILF. It's not the same thing, folks. We got to say it loud. It's not the same fucking thing. All right. So where are we on that? I guess mean black girl who doesn't like being a black girl is probably going to have to put up or shut up. She's going to have, what is she? That's really reckless. It is really reckless to have the audience that she has. And I don't mean reckless like she's just saying things that are wrong and putting misinformation. No, I mean, it's really reckless in that is slander, and they can take every penny you'll ever earn again. That's why it's reckless for her to be like, nah, she's a man, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, why was she comfortable saying it? Was she comfortable saying it? Because traditionally, when this level of outlandish criticism comes to a person in that position, the First Lady of France, those people ignore it. Those people do not take debate. I bet Candace Owens thought that there would be no way in hell that the president of France would take the bait and actually force me into court where I would need to prove that I know that she's born a man. So what's going on here? You know, either Candace Owens legitimately has some proof that these very powerful people over there have been keeping hidden in secret, which, man, if you live in 2025 and you think that that's out of the question, that you think there is no way that the president of France could have this very embarrassing thing about his wife, you know, from her past hidden in closed. I mean, so either Candace Owens has something and she's going to go into court and she's going to prove it, and it's either going to be verified or it's going to be dismissed. She's going to have to do that. If she doesn't have that, she's fucking dead. She is dead. She's going to be closed up. She's going to be on the hook to pay them every penny that she makes for the rest of her life. I mean, this level of slander, you know, it's one thing to, like, you know, be on stage publicly and talk shit about the mayor and then get a lawsuit, you know, local political, these kinds of things happen all the time. No, this is Candace Owens with a microphone blasting out to millions of people globally. It's a big thing if she can't back it up. So now let's go back to when he met her. He would have met her back in the 1980s, okay? So I am wondering what, and I don't listen to Candace Owens, so I don't know what her belief is on this subject. But if she is somebody who was born a man and is now a woman, she has had very good surgery. She looks more like a woman than Caitlyn Jenner does. So when did she have the surgery? Because if you're saying that she had this surgery back in the 1980s when she met a young teenage Macron, I'm calling bullshit because we didn't have that surgery then. That surgery didn't exist back then. So are you saying that she had some amazing, radical, first of its kind sex change surgery back in the 1970s? Because if you've seen anybody in Renee Richards, is it Renee Richards? Renee Richards, I think is Renee. Is that the name? The first successful male to female trans operation. Anyway, whoever that person is, if you've ever seen a picture of them, you're like, yeah, that was first generation. They didn't know what they were doing yet. They had no idea. So when is Candace Owens suggesting that she had this really good ahead of its time surgery? Was it back in the 80s? Or is the argument that she didn't have the surgery, she was just posing as a woman, and that Macron, obviously, who had an affair with his teacher back in the day, Macron would have known that she was a man. I don't know, man. There's a lot of things that don't... Like, I don't know that you could make a trans person that looks as passable as the First Lady of France today. I don't know if that surgery exists. But when you look closely at her face, you can see... You're like, okay, I can see where people are getting it. She does have a little bit of a masculine jawline. She's more angular, less soft than a lot of women are. Looks to be, got kind of masculine eyes. Is that a thing? Did I just make that up? Masculine eyes? I don't know. Whatever. Let's see here. April says we need younger pics. Okay, let's do that. Let's look for some. That's a good idea. Let's look for some younger pics of Macron. Brigitte Macron. Let's go younger. All right. Okay, Brigitte Macron, young. There you go. All right, let's see what she looked like when she was younger. All right, here we go. Okay, that's not helping the cause because this looks like this very masculine to me. That looks like a dude. I'm sorry, but that looks like a dude to me. This looks like a dude in a wig. He looks like one of the members of ABBA. He looks like a dude in ABBA right there. So, all right, we're looking at pictures of... Hold on, it's not sharing. I'm sorry, I thought that was sharing. Here you go. All right, here it is. First Lady of France or dude from ABBA? You tell me. All right, let's see more young pictures. Is this him young? All right, we can't really see her. We don't care. All right. Is that him young? I mean, he's a good-looking guy. Like, I'm not gay or anything, but I can look at the president of France and go, yeah, dude looks great in a tuxedo. You know, he's thin. He's got, he looks like a president of France from a rom-com. You know what I mean? Like he would. So I could see how, a teacher might be tempted by him. All right, this is her. What do we got here? What's going on here? Nope, can't make it bigger. All right. All right. Is that her? All right, if this is about a 20-year-old Brigitte Macron, she's a woman, guys. That looks like a woman. That looks like a girl. Although, do you see what I mean about the eyes? Yeah, just the little masculine eyes. I don't know what that means. All right. She always had a bit of a... Man, look, can I just say this? She dresses fucking great. She does. She dresses great, man. This woman can wear an outfit. So can Melania, though, except when Melania's wearing stupid outfits that like that jacket. Remember that? I didn't like that. Melania looks good, too. But Brigitte Macron, can't take it away. She dresses good. Ah! What the heck? All right. Side by side. She looks more like a man these days. She looks more, and that just could be, from aging and all of that. This is her as a younger woman. She's a girl. There you go. That's where I'm coming down. I have weighed in. My belief is that she was born a woman. People are just being mean to her because it's a weird setup she's got. She married her student, and that student made her the first fucking lady of France. That is wild. Imagine a dude imagine Billy Falal. Imagine Billy Falal runs for president here in America, and we're totally okay with him and Mary Kay Letourneau. Totally okay with it now. I know we destroyed your life when you were 15, but, we're okay with it now. What else are we gonna do here? All right, let's move in. Let's finish out today's show here. We'll do it this way. Hold on. I got so many pages open, kids. I am so lost here. By the way, do you like the new format? Is the new format better than the old format? Should I stick with this, or should we do still? This hitting the ground running with the first story and getting, because I'm still doing 2 hours. It's still coming out to about 2 hours. It's just, I feel like I'm able to stretch out more and get more into the stuff I really want to talk about. I don't know, whatever. After 4 fucking years and 15 listeners, we are a work in progress. That's right. We are still a work in progress. All right, the other day I told you about a big industry deal, which surprised a lot of people because it had been contentious for weeks and weeks, and that is the situation concerning Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park. South Park, of course, I said the other day, I don't think that there is a better example of just apex American satire than South Park of the past 25 years, 25, 26, whatever. So Saturday Night Live is the apex. No, fuck you. It's South Park. It has always been South Park. It has always been Matt Parker and Trey Stone and their fearlessness when it comes to speaking truth to power, to being cringe when it's called for. They're great, man. They are so funny. My God, do you remember when they made Team America World Police and the whole of Congress, the United States Congress, held a vote about whether or not this was problematic relations between North Korea and America? That's fucking satire. When you can do that, they're great. And maybe their humor is not your cup of tea. It wasn't my cup of tea, South Park, in the beginning. I learned to love it. I learned to appreciate it for how smart it was underneath the fart jokes and stupid puns and all of that. It is incredibly insurgent stuff, man. And it has been for years. And one of the least insurgent companies going right now is Paramount. Paramount, of course, owns everything. They own CBS. Paramount is trying to merge with Skydance. What is Skydance? Skydance is like a brand new company. Brand new in that they've been around for 5 years. Fuckers, Paramount has been around since the 40s. So when I say Skydance is kind of a new thing, just don't bust my balls, okay? Skydance is owned by the Ellison family. Billionaire Larry Ellison. His dirtwad kid, some little rich kid. My daddy is Larry Ellison. He decided that he wanted to be a big time movie producer. So his daddy gave him a couple of $1 billion, and they created from whole cloth a whole new company called Skydance. And guess what? Skydance is now going to buy the iconic Paramount and CBS. Fucking company's got a legacy of 10 years, and they're moving in to buy up the Tiffany network. So anyway, Paramount's all for it. They're like, yeah, we'll merge with the Ellison family, or they can buy us or whatever. Part of that is CBS. And if you remember, last week, CBS announced that they would not be renewing the contract of Stephen Colbert. It was believed that this decision was made because of the deal between Paramount and Skydance. It must be approved by President Trump. One of President Trump's biggest critics, most relentless critics every night on American network television is Stephen Colbert. So it was believed that Paramount deciding to get rid of Colbert, despite the fact that he was the #1 rated late night network comedy host, seemed a bit fishy. So that's the specter that Paramount is under these days. And you got to imagine that the other content creators who work for Paramount are watching and going, what the fuck? So on Monday, it was a little bit weird when suddenly South Park creators, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, decided to sign a deal, an exclusive deal with Paramount, a 5-year streaming deal that would allow Paramount and Paramount Plus to air all episodes of South Park. They got $1.5 billion out of it. That's how lucrative South Park is. $1.5 billion. So that happened on Monday, and a lot of people went, really? Look at that. Trey and fucking Matt selling out. This company Paramount taking a shit on creators and all of that. And look at what they do. They signed they got in bed with the monster. Fuck you, Trey and Matt. That was an attitude that a lot of people had about that deal. That it was somehow a stab in the back to all that Trey Parker and Matt Stone had stood for. Well, the new season of South Park debuted last night. And let me tell you, the first episode, and this is what has always been amazing about South Park, because their animation is so rudimentary, they're able to do it on the fly. South Park, something big can happen at noon on the day a South Park episode is supposed to air at 8 o'clock, and they will have the thing that happened at noon inserted into the show, and it's brilliant. I don't know how they do it. I mean, it really is impressive, especially if you understand how television shows are produced, and more to the point, how animated television shows are produced. Animated television shows are produced a year in advance. So the very idea that on the fly South Park has been able to stay so contemporary and relevant is amazing. So they signed the big deal with Paramount, $1.5 billion. New season starts on Wednesday. Let me read you a little bit here from Variety. South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone may have signed an extremely lucrative new streaming deal with Paramount, but on Wednesday, they proved that deal won't keep them from criticizing their company or President Trump's genitals. The new episode of South Park season premiere, called Sermon on the Mount, roasted the way various media companies and institutions have recently caved instead of fighting Trump's various lawsuits or institutional abuses. Depicting Trump literally in bed with Satan and featuring a sermon from the show's version of Jesus, who urged everyone not to provoke Trump and begged them all to be very afraid of Trump. So Jesus was preaching, do what Trump says, basically that whole thing. Urging everyone not to provoke Trump and begging them to be afraid of him. The episode ended with the town of South Park agreeing to settle a clearly nuisance lawsuit filed against them by Trump for $3 million. But the money alone didn't settle the matter. As one character explains, the town of South Park also agreed to produce pro-Trump content pro bono. That's hysterical. Which is, and it says here, which is a parody of stipulations other Trump settlements have contained. And then the show ended with just that in the form of a fake public service announcement. So basically that last thing's very important. So one of the things with all these, like CBS settles, Paramount settling, other people are settling, well, whatever Trump wants, please just don't be mean to us, because they're all feckless fucking scumbags. Anyway, a lot of these people have agreed to, in return for their crimes against the great Trump, they've agreed that, well, we will create some pro-Trump content from now on instead of being so critical. All right, so that's what South Park is mentioning. It says, but the money alone didn't settle the matter. As one character explains, the town of South Park has also agreed to produce pro-Trump content pro bono. This is a parody of stipulations other Trump settlements have contained. So that's not even a lie. That's just legitimately what the president does. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this public service announcement that ended South Park last night. It's actually really well done and doesn't look like South Park at all. All right, here we go. We'll watch this whole thing. They took $1.5 million and then just gave the dude who wrote him that check a huge finger. Here we go. South Park.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We'll be happy to pay that, sir. Yes, sir. I will relax and I'll take a rest. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we settled.
Oh, we settled. Thank God.
I got the president down to $3.5 million.
$3.5 million. That's not so bad. That's really fair. I think that's fair.
We'll just have to cut some funding for our schools and hospitals and roads, and that should be that.
Yeah, well, that's not quite all. As part of the settlement, we also had to agree to doing pro-Trump messaging.
How are we supposed to do pro-Trump messaging?
Oh, come on, guys. We're South Park. We can do it.
Yeah.
Right. We just gotta work together.
Who walked through the desert for you? Who survived the wilderness and gave the ultimate sacrifice? When things heat up, who will deliver us from temptation? Donald J. Trump. No matter how hot it gets, he's not afraid to fight for America. With conviction, discipline, and trust in God, he survived the desert.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I endorse this message.
Trump. His penis is teeny tiny, but his love for us is large.
Oh, all right. And then tagged with the "he gets us," like the Jesus.com ads. Ballsy, you got it there. Fearless. They're like, hey, I got 1.5 billion in the bank now. Fuck this place. I'm going to burn everything down. That was pretty unexpected, especially considering the news of Monday that they just got into bed for 5 years with Paramount. Okay. That's how it's got to be. That's how it's going to be done. That's how I'm watching it. I'm watching it being done this way. Look at you think it's no big deal that people like, your Andrew Solches and your Tim Dillons and your Shane Gillises and your Joe Rogans. You think it's no big deal that these guys are suddenly beginning to relentlessly mock and make fun of the president? It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal because you see, they didn't used to do that. Those are all people I just named there. Those are all influential, cool guy figures. Those are all people who nerds and dorks who pretend to be cool listen to and then mimic so that I'm going to be cool like Joe Rogan. Look at me. I've got an affliction shirt on and I'm going to go train by day. These fucking dorks. Very influential. That group of people voted MAGA. That group of people love their King Trump. If all of a sudden the people that they follow have now turned on King Trump and it is an endless, relentless humiliation of the man, and anybody who still supports him is also now someone who can be relentlessly humiliated and mocked and marginalized as the fool and the dope that they are, well, that's what we're seeing. That's what we're starting to see now from Hollywood. It was the mistake that Hollywood made was they got all fucking self-righteous. Like for the last 10 years, Hollywood's attempt to take down Trump and the rise of Trump was this stuff. It's just wrong, you guys. He's doing things that are wrong and we're the good people and he's the bad one. That fucking shit doesn't work. Okay, that doesn't. You know what works? Being embarrassed to support the guy. Being somebody who no longer wants to go out in public wearing your red hat because it's just not as cool a climate as it once was. Now suddenly people are laughing at you and pointing. Make it uncool to support this obvious con man appears to be the new project that Hollywood and entertainment is doing. And I'm telling you, I think it might work this time. Why? Because he's not he doesn't have the bulletproof of Rogan and Andrew Schultz and Shane Gillis and all of these cool guys who, seem to like him, so it must be okay to like him. No, the worm has turned, man, and it's very interesting. South Park, that was one of the most offensive, purposefully humiliating takedowns that they have ever done. Fat AI Trump trudging through the desert with a tiny little dick that talks. That is the kind of thing that, one, I think people will think is funny no matter what. Like, even if you like Trump, you're going to watch it and you're going to go, oh, I like this kind of humor. So there's something. But also, that's the kind of thing that's going to bug him. That's going to bug him. Like, he's going to see a viral of that because everybody's talking about South Park and he can't resist himself. You know, he's going to click on it and he's going to see South Park and it's going to hurt him. Has he truth socialed about South Park yet? Because I'm sure that's coming. South Park has never been funny. Blah, blah. I'm sure that's coming. Anyway, a lot of weird shit going on there with that South Park debut last night. 1.5 million. Everyone thought they were kissing up to Paramount, taking the big bag of money, you know, just shelving their principles or whatever it is that we thought South Park had. And they didn't. They debuted with, like, they came in hot. They came in hot. They tore it all down. By the way, you didn't see it. The entire episode was about Paramount. The entire episode was about how Paramount is gutless. Paramount, the people who just wrote a $1.5 billion check to them, they turn around 2 days later and make an episode where they're talking about how gutless and traitorous Paramount and other corporations who are not pushing back are. That was the message of the episode, and never fear, South Park has still got it. They still got that edge. I am so hot. I am so hot. No, you're hot. You people are hot. I love you. I got to get out of here. I think we're done. Is there anything new? Anything new that happened? I don't care. I got to get out of here. I don't have air conditioning here. I don't have any air conditioning here in the studio. And it is like 95 degrees in the studio. And this is what I'm doing here. I'm like, oh, dabbing myself. This black shirt that I'm wearing is soaking wet. But that's okay because I have multiple shirts that I change into. Another shirt that I will change into. My life is hell. That's okay. I have a car and the air conditioning works, and I have a house and the air conditioning works. So please don't feel bad for me. But also just kind of understand when I tell you I got to get the fuck out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Love you.